My next guest right now is someone I just recently met at BCW, the Grand Dragon Tournament. Had a good working relationship with. Heard a lot about her going in. It was a pleasure to meet her. And to the fact that I asked her, hey, I would love to have you on the show. And yet here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my favorite interviewer, Samira.
Hi, thank you for having me on. What an intro. Love that.
I love that people always compliment me about my intros. I'm like, all right, cool, respect. Again, no Shane Fair, but here we are. Um, so no, thank you. It's very rare to have like a fellow interviewer on a show. So this, how do you feel like you're on the other end of it right now?
I love it because you never know what you're expecting. So it's like, oh, now I know how they feel. Like you don't know what they're gonna ask and like what you're gonna talk about, but I always get excited.
I hope you're not quietly judging me with the questions I'll be asking. I feel like I kind of do that, but like, this is not how I'd run this interview.
No, you're all good. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So, as I mentioned, we did meet at the BCW Grand Dragon Tournament. It was your debut over there. And you've been making your rounds at different promotions, making your debut. So it wasn't the only debut you had recently. So I want to ask you, how do you feel, how does it feel going to like a newer promotion? Like, what's your approach going into that?
Ooh, going into a newer promotion, like I first try to see like who I know. So I'm like, okay, like do I who's on the card that I might know that I've worked with before and like, hang out with them and then like, get to know the other people. I'm always excited to meet new people and then like I try to study up as much as I can on like maybe previous shows how to say people's names so I'm kind of familiar like with what's going on, what's the storyline so I can just jump right in. Sometimes obviously I ask them like what's just to keep clear what it is or maybe what direction they kind of want to go in, and it's always so welcoming everywhere I go and everybody's so nice, and I get, of course you're just a little nervous because it's like a new place and you just want to make sure everything goes right so they could bring you back and like hopefully everything works out. And I've been lucky enough, every place I've been to I've been asked to come back, and I love working with everybody. It's just such a great time.
No, you know what I think it is. It's you're so easy to work with, and you're so professional as well. The way how you carry about yourself, and it's funny because I'm aware of your work, I'm aware of your reputation, and I did see you were admittedly a little nervous at BCW. I'm like, that's crazy. It just baffled me completely to see that. But again, you knocked it out of the park, which is awesome. Um, so who have been your biggest influences then getting into this game? A lot of people when they watch wrestling, actually myself included, younger, as watching as a fan, it's like, oh man, I'd love to get in there, get in the ring. Did you ever have that?
Um, well, first, thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate that so much. But for like, I've never wanted to wrestle. I just know I can't take pain. I'm a baby, but I do want to learn the basics. I know that's very important to know, so I really want to do that. But I don't know. For me, like for broadcasting wise, I would say it was like, Kathy Kelly and, Renee Young, Renee Paquette, Alicia Atu, oh my gosh, and like Lillian Garcia, Justin Roberts, like the like when I was growing up, those kind of like broadcasters, like because you saw them all the time. It's I don't know, they just stuck out to me the most because like especially like the women, like they're not seen as like especially like back in the day, and that goes for like the female talent too. Like we were just seen as just a pretty face sometimes, and it's we have more to offer than that. And I'm glad like as years have went on, we're seen as much more than that. Like we know what we're doing, we know what we're talking about. You get what I mean?
Yeah, no, completely. And I feel like the one that really changed the game, I feel like, was Renee
Mhm.
Paquette. Now I struggle seeing it. I always want to say Renee Young.
I know Renee Paquette, Renee Young, formerly
Paquette.
known.
But I feel like no, she really changed the game in that aspect that allowed like others to rise. Like Alicia to Sam Laterna, yourself. It opened up the gates, if you will.
Oh, 100%. She like did a little bit of everything. And it was nice to see that too. And then she, got the spot on Raw for a commentator. Now, like she was doing everything. And it was awesome to see that. So it's like she's definitely like a big influence of mine because I think she like helped shape that.
what sets you apart then from everyone else though? Because they're now because of her, I feel like the competition is fierce. And I just name dropped a few names right here.
Mhm.
And honestly, I mean, like they have a big following and they get a lot of work. So, and I'm sure you're friendly with them as well. But what? How do you then sell yourself to these other promotions?
Yeah, there is a lot of, female broadcasters now in the game. And I'm friends with everybody. I love everybody. I love seeing everybody, shine. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know what sets me apart from everybody else. Maybe, I don't know, culturally, I'm different. Like, there's not a lot of Arabs in the business. So it's kind of cool. I, I actually don't know what kind of sets me apart. I just do what I do. I love what I do. I study up on what I do. Not saying everybody else doesn't do that, but like I don't know what it is about me that the promoters must like, or promoters slash owners like, that they continue to bring me. I don't know what's my flair or whatever it is.
It's the humbleness. It's the humbleness, right? From what I could see, very humble, and especially like you are crushing it. I was texting you yesterday, saying living the dream, and you are. We're joking about you said I was 26. You thought I was 26 when we first met. Full disclosure, won me over right away.
It's true. I don't want everybody to think I was like, oh no, I really thought he was 26. He looks so young. Am I wrong?
I think some people disagree, but anywho, I'm carrying that to my grave. No, but with you, I was thinking you were crushing it because yeah, you are you're all over the place. You're literally everywhere. New York, the Northeast, Florida, the South. I mean, everywhere we go, you're there, which is awesome. And I find it. This is a rougher path, like non-wrestlers, if you will, to get these bookings. So talking about this rise of popularity that you've been having, how has that trip been for you?
It's insane. Because I know I told you about this before, where I almost quit a couple months ago. So for this like to happen, like where I thought I wasn't good enough and that I almost like walked away from something I loved so much because I just didn't think I was good enough. And then a couple months later, I'm getting booking after booking after booking, and I'm like so busy now. And like, because that it was harder before, like, because sometimes broadcasters, you got like people got to know you, and that's when you start getting booked. And I was sitting there, and it's like I felt like people knew me, but they didn't really know, and I don't know, and it was so hard. And but as I'm getting busier now, I'm just like, wow, like it's kind of crazy because I'm just like, wow, people really like me that much. Like that's like so insane. Like, and I don't know. It's like it's so cool because I'm so happy to be doing so much more, and I just want to keep continuing to do more, debut at new promotions, meet new people. Like I love this so much, and it's just so crazy to me to think like I went through such a hard time a couple months ago, and to think where I am now, like how everything just kind of changed.
Was it a specific moment that started making you question yourself, that made you think about the whole quitting process? I mean, what was it?
So it was kind of crazy because I literally just came off of a wrestling weekend where I worked a Saturday and a Sunday show. It was the first time I went to Florida for a show. Um, I was good like the first like couple days. I felt so good, and I don't know, just I don't know what happened. I suddenly just thought, I don't know, I don't feel like I deserve to do all this. Like, I don't think I'm good enough. And then and it was also things were slow too. And I was just like, I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not good enough. And then you just like, it doesn't help. Also, like, I'm happy for my friends. I'm not saying that I'm not happy for anybody. It's also like seeing on social media, you see other people doing stuff and you're like, shit, like, what am I doing wrong? Or like, am I not? Yeah. So social
Social
media brought
media
me up really
always
far.
makes you ask that question. I
And
feel
then
like,
like,
well,
yeah, it's just it was so difficult. I was like, I don't know. It was so hard, and like it's just it's all in your head too. So it's hard to like get yourself. And I just kept thinking, especially in July, and this is kind of funny because it was the week of Nashville when SummerSlam weekend was happening, and I was going, and it was like a couple days before I flew out, and I like was already thinking I don't want to go anymore. I start crying. Like I would
Oh,
cry
wow.
sometimes because it was so bad. Like I was like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to be. I felt like in so much pain because I just didn't feel like I was good enough, that I wasn't meant to be here. And I was crying. And my friends are like, you're gonna get on that plane. Do not cancel your flight. You're gonna have a good time, and you're gonna realize why you still love this and why you continue to do what you do. I'm like, no. I'm like, I was like, and I kept saying, after this trip, like I'll finish out whatever is in the rest of the year and I'm done. Like there's, and I know, and I was like, there's not going to be much anyway for me. I'm just going to be done. Went to Nashville, everything changed. Like I felt like, I don't know, something, my mindset changed after doing everything. And I guess being surrounded by all my support system of my friends in wrestling that have always been there for me. It just, something happened in that trip, flipped a whole switch in me, and I've just been up ever since.
That's amazing. And that's meant to be then, if that's the case. And kudos to your friends for pushing you to go and being a good, strong support system. Listen, the road to any dream is a tough one, and it can be a long one. But it's also very hard to get by yourself. So you always got to make sure you have a good support system around you. And luckily enough that you do, and you're still here with us in the wrestling world. I said to you yesterday, I strongly believe in it. The wrestling world is a better place having you in it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's just, everybody still has their times. Like I still have like my days, but I'm glad it's not as bad as it was before, where it was just like, you cry sometimes because it's just, you just feel so sad about it. And but I still have my days, but it's better. I have a lot of great people around me still. Like we support each other, and like if anytime I find out that somebody else went through the same thing I did, I always talk, and it's great to talk to somebody that understands it as well. Because I just like I felt so alone too, even though like I had a couple friends that obviously understood the situation too. It's still like, oh my god, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then it just gets better. You just have to focus on your work. And I try to also think like, along with like talking to other people that have been through it, like I try to think like I would have been asked to do this and this if I wasn't good, or if I like all this kind of stuff. That's why I try to tell myself and be like, hey, or just stay off social media for a little bit. But it's not like that, like before, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And listen, it's the artist's curse. There are going to be plenty of times, even when we're crushing it, we're going to think, "Wow, am I good enough? Like, am I here because of this, or am I here for other reasons?" Like, it's just when you're alone in your thoughts, when you think about this, like the doubt can creep in. Once the doubt finds the door, that little slip right there, it could just completely invade. I've been through it, and me and you are probably not the only ones who've gone through it. I'm sure there are plenty of listeners who are watching this or listening to this right now. They've gone through it. Other wrestlers have gone through it. Other actors have gone through it. But then they prevail. It's part of the journey, if you will.
Yeah. And it's like you were saying, like now I'm doing so much, and I feel so happy. Like I'm so happy to be doing something I love so much that it took such a change. And people, and that people obviously see something in me, and that makes me so happy. I'm like so thankful. I'm so blessed that I get to do all these things, and that people want to continue to work with me. It just like it means a lot to me, like more than anybody could ever know, really.
Yeah. And hey, I asked you before, what sets you apart from everyone else? The answer is you're you. Yeah, that's there's only one Samira, and that's the way it's got to be. So keep on being you, keep doing your thing. And I think we're going to see plenty more of you.